23. 7th summer entry, 2nd year. Dear Journal, there wasn't a huge amount of fallout from the Nike ramming incident. The Nike was repaired relatively quickly, and since Dad paid for his ship, they can't take it away from him.
That's right,
said my dad.
As long as I have a great deal of money, I can get away with anything.
They didn't want the Melita on the blockade for a while, so we were back on the walls. We have built walls from the circle to the harbor. Now, we had to build a wall from the circle to the shore on the other end to complete our encirclement of the city. However, the Syracusans began another counterwall, so we were in a race again. If the enemy built their counterwall across our path, we would be unable to complete the encirclement, and the siege would be effectively over. If we can't cut off Syracuse, they could hold out all the way to the year 0. Wait, is there going to be a year 0? As we scrambled to build our wall, we noticed soldiers and horsemen coming out of Syracuse. A glint of light grabbed my attention. It came from a small, possibly faraway man with a shiny helmet and scarlet cape. Only a very specific type of soldier wore a red cape. I was looking at an honest-to-the-God Spartan. I had never seen one before. I had never left Athens before. The Herodotus performance we saw last winter in Catana told us all about the Spartans. When they are children, Spartan citizens enter the agoge, their military academy. It's very intense, and not everybody survives. But if you graduate, you're given a helot and a plot of land that he farms for you. Helots are slaves to the state of Sparta. When the first Spartans arrived in Greece hundreds of years ago, they conquered the neighboring land of Messina. The Spartans enslaved everybody and called them helots. Every year, Sparta declares war on conquered Messina and unleashes its agoge students on the helot population. This is how the young Spartans learn to kill, and the declaration of war keeps it nice and legal for the gods. The Spartans are really quite psychotic. I suppose the ship that Dad allowed through was carrying this Spartan. Seeing how this Spartan was now giving orders, he must have assumed command of Syracuse's defenses. Our side formed up to meet this Spartan. I saw my brother in the ranks as I stood on top the wall. He wore the helmet our grandfather, also named Jerricles, donned in the Samian War. Dad says he was killed trying to storm the gates of Samos while very drunk, when the enemy dropped a rock on his head. I recognized my brother by the distinctive dent on his helmet. Bronze helmets and bronze armor are very expensive, so hoplite gear tends to be handed down the generations. There was a fight. I hid behind a rock on top of the wall. Fortunately, the Spartan general positioned a Syracusan army too close to the walls, and the cavalry were pinned in. The enemy hoplites pulled back and returned to Syracuse, dejected. The general was not living up to his Spartan image. The Syracusans may have gotten a dud Spartan. We continued to build. As the sun neared the horizon, the Syracusans tried again. They formed up, now giving room for their horses. They looked very confident and their formations were smart. Maybe this Spartan general knew what he was doing, after all. My brother and the hoplites met with the Syracusan hoplites, and a shoving match began. Things deteriorated quickly when the Athenian line broke. Our hoplites ran. However, there was now enough room for the Syracusan cavalry to swoop in and start hacking at the retreating soldiers. I thought I was safe on top of the wall, behind my rock, but spears and other rocks from slings peppered my hiding spot. I fell off the wall trying to avoid the missiles. Then I joined the fleeing crowd, heading towards the safety of the circle. I fell down, I looked up, and saw a dented helmet on the dirt. I snatched it up, then searched the chaos for my brother. Enemy cavalry were cutting down straggling hoplites. I saw my hatless brother surrounded by 3 horsemen. Swinging the dented helmet, I attacked without thinking. Fortunately, help came before I got hurt. From behind, Humongulus sprung ahead and punched out 2 horses. Archie swiped away arrows and missiles with a big bronze shield he found. Dino heroically rode in on a horse and deftly swept up my brother and I. He rode us to the safety of the circle. It was all very exciting, and it was the first actual battle I've been involved with. However, as invigorating as that was, our wall was destroyed by the enemy, and their counterwall now blocked our way. It is now impossible to lay an effective siege on Syracuse. So, the adventure is over. 24. 8th summer entry, 2nd year. Dear Journal, after my brother and I were rescued and safe in the circle, my roommates made it clear that I was still on the outs. They said that they helped me only because of ship pride and the possibility of a reward from my dad for saving Bob. Dad was grateful and handed out some styluses with his campaign slogan on it. He has been gearing up for a run at Strategos since buying his ship. You use it with ink to write. I'm illiterate. After losing our battle of the walls, everyone was kind of bummed. We can't cut the city off from help anymore, so this war could go on forever. Many feel that it's already over and we should just go home. Later on, we found out the name of the Spartan general leading the Syracusans was Gylippus, and he seems to be more daring than our Nicias. He managed to capture one of our forts by the harbor while we were distracted and fighting by the wall. After months, I am still forced to sit alone during mealtime. I figured it would be easier for my crew to forgive me if the Nike people released us from our firewood burden. I decided to go talk to the Nike crew. They were still pretty sore about us breaking their ship, even though they were able to fix it. Nonetheless, when I appeared at their biv site, they strung me up to a tree.
Why should we give the Melita a break?
There must be something I can do. I tried to bribe them with my meager possessions.
I don't want an Alcibiades doll. Listen, you bees on the Melita make filth instead of honey. I hope you die collecting firewood.
We could refuse, I suggested.
If you do, I'll tell everyone it was your little group of bees that fed the diarrhea dust to the hive,
threatened Crapface. It's called poop powder, I said. It was true that the rest of the Melita crew did not know how they got sick. Dino, Archie, Humongulus, and I would be in serious trouble if the real story got out. They told me that I screamed the whole plan at Crapface and his friends as I sped by them during my blackout. One of the Nike crew pulled Crapface aside. They talked and laughed a little, and I spotted a table of unguarded wine jugs.
If we could create a fire without wood,
said Crapface,
we could release you from your forfeit.
Fire without wood? Is that a riddle? I asked.
No,
said Crapface.
Hephaestus is said to have made a stone that creates fire on command. My grandmother, close to the gods in her old age, told me that the god of fire keeps his stones in the ear of Dionysus.
I agreed to their proposal and promised to find them a firestone. They let me go and laughed. I took a wine jug while they were distracted. The ear of Dionysus was not new to me. I had seen it before while searching for firewood. It was a deep cave, and the opening looked like a human ear hole. This hole was in an unprotected area. I was pretty drunk by the time I reached the ear. I don't know if anybody saw me stumbling in the woods. I was singing and waving a torch around. Then, in the darkness, I heard knives scraping together. I flashed my torch and caught a glimpse of a metallic little owl with many moving parts before it fluttered into the cave, quite noisily. I entered the ear. I saw a pinprick of light in the darkness. The owl was heading towards it. I followed. I heard music. After what felt like an hour, the pinprick turned out to be an automaton orgy. My drunkenness dampened my astonishment, so I accepted this strange situation quite readily. I recognized one of the participants. "Hey, are you the automaton from before?"
I am not an automaton,
he said as he lit a cylinder he had between his teeth with a rock that produced fire. "Hey, can I have that?" I asked.
Yes, it belongs to the chosen one.
He is the one Hephaestus has chosen to live for 1,000 years,
said the owl.
And we will watch him,
said a weird bronze eye.
He will witness the end of the countdown and solve the mystery of what is going to happen.
What are you talking about? I asked. The automaton gave me a goblet.
Take this and loosen up, man.
Then I woke up on the Melita. Clearly I drank too much and hallucinated an automaton party. There was something bothering my backside. I reached down and discovered the Firestone. Well, at least that was real. Somehow. When I took the magic rock to Crapface, he seemed quite amazed, like he wasn't expecting me to return. A circle formed around him as he made the rock spark. I was able to get Crapface to say we were off the hook before the crowd pushed me off. I gave the crew the good news. They were so happy, they allowed me 30 minutes of conversation time a day. I will be allowed more if I use it wisely.